Tax Procedures Act. Now, if you look at the Tax Procedures Act, you're going to find that it aims to provide procedures for consistency and efficiency in the administration of tax laws, facilitate tax compliance by taxpayers, and promote the effective and efficient collection of tax. It also places strict timelines on the Commissioner to respond to taxpayers' issues. That indeed, if you look at that particular act, then it also guides the Kenya Revenue Authority to act within the Finance Act of the year in the administration of its taxes. So they can't work outside the limits of the Finance Act. Now, there's a man there who's in that committee, and in fact is the chair of the budget committee, one Nyoro. See, this weekend, and I say that this is on Sunday, comes in and makes a proper claim of how Kerry should first get into public participation before they come in and revise various duties and levies. But we do know very well that Kerry, under the Tax Procedures Act, can actually act within their powers to review taxes and levies in line with inflation. But then, is it best placed to really come in and say, well, he's firing that warning shot to KRA? Is he? Is he? Because that's the question. The one behind the Finance Act, which has all these taxes that KRA is now pushing for. Or do we get him out of context? This morning, we talk about Nyoro and what he really meant about the administration of taxes and how KRA should first get into proper public participation before pushing the tax to you. But then, why is the Finance Act? Was a man behind it, isn't it? This is Lookuptv. My name is Simbalaja Charles here. Again, thank you very much for choosing to begin your day with us right here at Lookuptv. Is our social media is that handle? Yes, that's what they call it, isn't it? I'm at King Agasimba. We come back with your newspaper review. All right, let's begin with the Daily Nation this morning. And stories that we're going to talk about this morning. This is Rigathi Gachagua, who's saying, Mama, please forgive us. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has offered an apology to former First Lady, Lady Mama Ngina Kenyatta, for what he termed political madness during the 2022 general election campaigns as he stepped up his bid to take control of the Mount Kenya region. That story has been covered on page 6. That's it. I'll talk about that this morning as well. Now, jobs dispute that may cripple Kerry. Now, court-bearing Kenya Revenue Authority from hiring is threatening to paralyze its operations and undermine the revenue collection, with the taxman now finding itself in the middle of a human resource storm as a contracts for over 50 senior managers are set to expire amid a staff shortage of 4,000 that has persisted over the years. You're going to read that story on page 4 and 5. And if you are within Nairobi, then you do know that yesterday, actually the day before yesterday as well, for those of us who have been in Nairobi, we had heavy rains, and you can see that heavy rains bring death, destruction. At least 7 people are feared dead after a heavy downpour in Nairobi on Sunday night that left a trail of destruction in its wake. Now, the heavy rains have also exposed the capital's age-old problem of poor drainage, which City Hall has struggled with for years and years. I'll tell you that. And look at these pictures right here. Industrial area, the likes of South B, South C, and many other areas in the capital of Nairobi were under water. Yeah, you're going to read that story on page 3. There's a story here of farewell to Rita Tinena, the national media journalist who lost her life. You're going to read that story on page 3. And DJ John Falme, 6 others to be held for 14 days in probe. That case, essentially continues, and that story has been covered on page 14. That's it. Mokaya focus on crash as she takes reins at the judiciary. That is the new chief registrar who has pledged to agitate for more funding from the government. That is Miss Wilfred Boyani Mokaya was sworn in as the new chief registrar of the judiciary yesterday. That's it. Now, there's a proper story here on Kenya's happiness ranking dropping for the very first time in 5 years. Now, I'll read the intro. Now, Kenya's happiness levels have dropped for the very first time in 5 years. Analysis based on a newly released survey now shows now scores in the happiness ranking are based on individuals' assessments of their lives. Annual World Happiness Report 2024 edition ranks Kenya at position 114 out of the 143 surveyed. That's not a good scoreline. What is making you sad as Kenyans? Well, I've got my reasons. Hopefully, the same or more reasons as well. We mentioned that this morning as well with a panel who's going to be joining us in the studio. We cross over to the Standard this morning, and we're going to start from page 2. High Court has thrown out Njeri's 17 billion shillings case. You do remember that popular case across the country? It's completely out. That story has been covered on page 2. And there's a story here on taxpayers paying a state drugs feat. Story has been covered on page 12. And KQ resumes its flight to Eldoret, page 27. And Lost Glory, why AFC must sing a new song. As a story on our football fans in the country. You're going to read that story on page 39 as the Mashemeji, or the other side of Mashemeji, are essentially struggling in the league currently as it is. Good. Top story here, Gachagua walks back on Kenyatta's attacks. That's what he says. I tender our apologies to Mamangina and ask her to forgive us, just like her children. It was political bad manners, and it shall never happen again. That's it. A story has been covered on page 4. More quotes. I am sorry. Deputy President tells former First Family for his incessant attacks on them and their enterprises as politics in Mount Kenya. WhatsApp story has been covered on page 4. That story on DJ Mfalme. Now police now face murder over officers killing. Celebrity DJ and police officers were yesterday arraigned with DPP saying they will take a murder plea after man they allegedly fought with died. Story has been covered on page 3. You know, the bigger lesson from this is never fight. Yeah, never fight. This should be the last result. They say, unless you're defending yourself. I'm not giving you a verdict on this case. No, I'm not even talking about this case, but it's just a proper advice. Unless you're defending yourself, because you do not know the next person you're going to fight. You've got no health record of these people. You do not know where they've got problems, because their bodies are quite complex. You touch them, they go. It becomes complex for you now. DJ John Falme and a couple of police officers are behind bars because a man they fought died. Story has been covered on page 3. Now on page 2 there is a story here on the destruction that was left behind by the rains that Nairobi witnessed on Sunday, waking up to all the way up to around 10 a.m. on Monday. That's it. That story on Rita Tinena, who has been remembered for her work ethics, has been covered on page 3 right here on this particular newspaper. There's a proper story here on Southgate backing Tony's quality ahead of the Belgium tie. If you're going to watch it tonight on those international friendlies that are preparing this particular international teams for the Euros, should I say. That's it. We come back with our newsroom this morning. Welcome back. Motorists faced significant challenges after heavy rainfall hit various areas in Nairobi and Kajiado County Sunday night, leading to critical transport routes being affected. Particularly noteworthy was the flooding on the newly constructed Nairobi Expressway, hindering vehicle movement, with water levels reaching knee-high. Marvin Getembe was in Nairobi during the day to assess the effects of the Sunday night's downpour.
In Nairobi County, a heavy downpour that lasted from Sunday night to Monday morning, leaving parts of the city flooded, including major roads connecting to the capital city. A distress call to rescue families that had been trapped in flooding houses, leaving residents in a confused state, calling on the government to take necessary action. In Gay Primary School, Langata area, Nairobi County, the school grappling with fear of health hazards after the ongoing rains flooded the entire school due to poor drainage.
Najua health wise kwa watoto huwa wanaona maji wanaona ni kawaida, lakini sewage ina affect kwa sababu inaweza leta hata cholera kwa shule. So tunataka hii ishughulikiwe haraka iwezekanavyo.
According to the school BOM chair Simon Kimani, fears are arising about spread of diseases and insecurity concerns.
Iko na athari kubwa juu tuko na watoto zaidi ya 1000 kama shule, na kama sasa tu ni wakati wa lunch time, watoto wamemaliza kukula, lakini nje ya darasa wakitoka wanapoenda kwa kitchen kuchukua chakula wanapitana na sewage, na watoto ni watoto tu, so hawajui kujikinga as much as wanasaidiwa na walimu, so ina affect kwa sababu hata jioni wanaguzana na hiyo maji na inaweza leta magonjwa cholera na magonjwa mengine. So ni shida kubwa sana kwetu kwa shule, jua tujui kesho watoto wataamka aje baada ya kuguzana na maji. Watoto wanakuja nearly 100% unless kuna ule mgonjwa ama shida yoyote, na leo wako wote kawaida kwa sababu ni msimu wa mtihani na wameanza mtihani. Wale wadogo walianza na kusoma na reading na wakubwa ya kuandika, so watoto wako wote kwa shule.
Deaths have been reported, with the state of the city's drainage being a subject of concerning, residents throwing the blame back to the government.
Naongea on behalf of the school. Tuko na manyumba kadhaa zenye zimejengwa zenye zilikuwa marked for demolition. Na hizo zimefanya hii mambo ya sewage si mara ya kwanza. So tumeelezea watu wa county waangalie kwamba hizo manyumba zilikuwa marked for demolition, nini imecause, kuna masiweji iko hapo ndani iko chini, waangalie ndio wasaidie shule.
Marvin Getembe, Lookuptv.
18,650 liquor joints have been closed down in the ongoing fight against illicit killer brews and the narcotic drugs by the government. Speaking during a tour of Kisii County and the larger Nyanza and Rift Valley region, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has maintained that the war on illicit alcohol and drug abuse is still on. Martin Masharia now reports on that.
During his visit in Kisii County, Cabinet Secretary for Security Kithure Kindiki revealed that 95 suspects linked to illegal alcohol trade and unlicensed bars have been apprehended and are being brought before the courts. Kindiki noted that since the crackdown on illegal alcohol began in March this year, there has been a decrease in crime rates, highlighting the connection between drug addiction and criminal activities.
Since we began the crackdown nationally on 7th of March, there has been a sharp decline on reported crime statistics across the country, meaning there is a link between the drug problem, the illicit alcohol problem, and crime levels. So we made good progress here in Kisii. About 95 suspects have been arrested and arraigned in court. We have also been able to seize poisonous drinks. We've also been able to destroy a number of illegal breweries. We've closed down a number without licenses. And also we have also closed down a number of premises that were selling alcoholic drinks with licenses, but operating within the prohibited proximity to learning institutions and other guidelines under national law. So that campaign is going on, and we've discussed how to upscale that war in the coming weeks. We'll be coming to check on it again in a very short period of time.
Kindiki, however, commended the Migori County Security and Intelligence Committee for their swift action, resulting in the seizure of 3,000 bags of marijuana and the arrest of 106 suspects. Speaking in Homa Bay County, Kindiki reiterated his commitment to combating illegal alcohol trade and announced plans to introduce legislation in Parliament next week to curb illicit alcohol businesses. Speaking in Kericho during the burial of Lamu County Commissioner Luis Rono, Kindiki declared that licenses issued to bars and alcoholic outlets in contravention to national laws are null and void. Kindiki emphasized that any license issued in violation of national laws, as stipulated in the Constitution, holds no legal validity. Furthermore, Kindiki reiterated that the government is committed to upholding the rule of law and ensuring that all businesses operate within the confines of the law.
You cannot license and issue licenses to bars and alcoholic outlets contrary to the provisions of the national law, which is the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act. Any license issued contrary to national law by virtue of our constitution, that license is null and void. Na wewe mwenye klabu, hata ukipewa karatasi na serikali ya kaunti ya kukubalia kuwa na bar nje ya shule, sisi national government tutakuja tufunge.
Martin Masharia, Lookuptv.
Masharia Martin. A Kibera court on Monday allowed an application by the police to detain DJ Joe Mfalme and 6 others pending a further probe into the alleged fatal assault on Kabete cop Felix Kiliana. Magistrate Margaret Murage said the suspects will be detained for a further 14 days. The DCI had requested 21 days, but the court said 14 days would just be sufficient. DJ Joe will be detained at Mudangari police station together with Eric Gadua and Simon Wanjiru. Alan Ochieng will be detained at Kabeta police station, while the 3 officers, Khadija Abdi Wako, Sami Rotich and Agnes Mogoi, will be detained at RUTO station. The court directed the matter to be mentioned on April.
Preliminary investigations revealed that the deceased was involved in a slight non-injury accident on 16th March 2024. Your Honor, he hit a vehicle registration number KDK.
It is not evident from those 3 paragraphs by the IO what role the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th played in the alleged assault that may have led to the death of the deceased. May have led.
In this case, Your Honor, we have been told that there is an application that the prosecution wants to pray for time. And as my learned colleague has stated, we were not aware about that application. We were actually coming to court to take a plea. If the prosecution were coming to this court with an application to pay for time, they should have brought a formal application and an affidavit.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has reiterated that the police have beefed up security in Nkararo and Angata Barikoi areas in Kilgoris constituency, where dozens of people have died and others injured in an on and off clashes experienced in the area over the years. Kindiki, who spoke when he paid a courtesy call to the Narok County Commissioner's office, said the wrangles experienced between the 2 Maasai clans in Nkararo area must end immediately. He underscored the need of the security team to work with elders and local leaders to finish the skirmishes that have been derailing development in the area.
We also have two other issues around this county, which I have asked my colleagues here to deal with firmly and to make sure that we resolve them permanently. We have the problem in Kararo, which is, there has been a dispute there between our people there, and we have asked the team to work with leaders and elders to make sure that we resolve that problem permanently. It is very shameful for people from the same community, the same locality, to keep on fighting each other and injuring each other and causing bloodshed. It's not acceptable, and it is against the law. Similarly, we have the issue in Kilgoris South and Timaro, the boundary with Migori. Again, we are working hard and have instructed the county security team to work hard to make sure that between Narok and Migori, we find a lasting solution so that we can have a peaceful environment for our people to work and fend for their families and move freely without fearing that there will be an eruption of violence. I think by and large, I have faith in the new team also.
Over 140 vulnerable families who lost their livestock due to drought in Laikipia North have a reason to smile after receiving 5 goats each to restart their lives, according to Patrick Lelesi. Many families in the region were disrupted following prolonged drought that saw thousands of animals die, leaving residents poor.
Over 140 vulnerable families who lost their livestock due to drought in Laikipia North have a reason to smile after receiving 5 goats each to restart their lives. According to the program's officer Patrick Lelesi, families will receive 700 goats as selected by the elders in the various community lands in the area.
So tumeweza kuselect, pia tunaangalia wale wameathirika zaidi. Pia selection yetu tunaangalia tumeweza kujihusisha community lands, wale wanaitwa CLMC, chief, nyumba 10, vijana, watu wa kanisa na pia watu ambao wako na watu walemavu ndio waliweza kuchagua watu. So tumeweza kwenda kinle criteria kuhakikisha yule anafaa ndio ameweza kupata. Watu ni watu wa chini, watu hawana masomo. Wamezoea, kazi yao ni kuzoea kuweka mifugo. So tunahakikisha pia na kuinua ndio hizi mali waweze kutumia nyasi ambazo ziko hapa sasa hivi na waweze kuikimu maisha yao, wapate chakula, wasomeshe watoto na waendelee na maisha yao kawaida.
The area assistant chief Maureen Lecher noted that these families have been suffering a lot since they depended on their animals to educate their children, some of who have even been sent home for failing to pay school fees.
Na mifugo zilikufa nyingi. Na tuko na familia ambao wameachwa, familia ambayo ni very vulnerable, waliachwa kabisa bila mfugo yeyote. Tumeweza kupata usaidizi kutoka hii organization ya Impact. Hii mbuzi wameletea wale watu ambao hawajiwezi.
Moses Kinyaga, a resident in Laikipia North, says that they have been experiencing prolonged drought that lasted for over 3 years, leaving pastoralists struggling to cater for their needs.
Kiangazi ya miaka 4 bila mvua ikamaliza mfugo yetu.
Maureen Nyakirario Bosire, Lookuptv.
The Health Senate Committee visited different health facilities in Nairobi County in an effort to assess the development projects in the hospitals and the pending bills brought forward by the CEOs of the hospitals. The committee, led by Uasin Gishu Senator Josephat Mandago, hence called for re-evaluation of the budget for health in the country.
Our concern has been, of course, in the issue of service delivery, stalled projects that we have been told, and we are happy. We have also noted all those stalled projects. We are concerned about the issue of funding of health in Nairobi in terms of priority. And we are happy that this committee has also noted and is asking us to help. Honorable members, our work as a committee is also to ensure that this health function in counties works, because we believe that the best institution to make sure health works is counties. Some people contemplate returning health to national government. But our position as a Senate and Senate Health Committee is that this health function should remain in counties.
So when I go to a hospital like Mutuini and I found you have built something called an X-ray room, what does an X-ray room mean? You cannot build an X-ray room for a mobile X-ray. What are you doing with the X-ray room? That's wasting public resources. It was built for us to have an X-ray room. X-rays must be happening there, inside that room. So what are the requirements for an X-ray room? That is how deep this question of oversight.
But the biggest problem that I see is that most of you do not even read those budgets. You lament, you say this is not being done, but you've not taken the time to really look at the budget. In fact, most of you are consumed with the narrative of Ward Development Fund, because that is the only thing you want. You want to be seen like members of parliament who are also talking about the CDF, and now we also have that disease as senators. We want something called Senate Oversight Fund.
So let's ask that question again. KRA is always guided by law. And if you're talking about what KRA is doing now, KRA is overseeing the implementation of the Finance Act 2023, which, if you do remember, was heavily supported by the Kenya Kwanza government. I mean, you can say that no member of parliament other than Wamushomba in that National House dissented when the voting process began on this particular Finance Act that we're riding on. And so what the government is essentially doing is trying to implement that particular act. So when the chair of a committee that oversees the implementation or the coming up of this Finance Act again goes to church and says, we are talking to KRA, to keep on pushing these high taxes to the public before participation, you wonder, is that double speak, or there's something that we do not understand in the implementation of the tax procedures in the country? And do remember, we have a Procedures Act which essentially says that KRA is answerable to us. But when we ask KRA these questions, what are they going to say? Well, implementing the Finance Act 2023. Once we come back, we talk about that and also mention what it means then for Gachagua to say, Mama, we are sorry. Is it turn around back? Talk about that this morning as well. Online at Lookuptv, across all your social media platforms, the hashtag is The Morning Drift. See you shortly.
Nashukuru sana kwa tatua tatu. Kama hizo pesa zinaweza fikia walemavu kama sisi, lazima watu wabarikiwe.
Maisha imekuwa mbaya sababu nilikuwa nafanya kazi kwa klabu nyingine inaitwa Suitable hapa town Thika. Sasa wakati corona iliingia, hiyo vilabu ilifungwa. Kwa hii Sakura mimi nimeshukuru sana.
Nashukuru sana. Nasema mubarikiwe mpaka watu waboeke.
Leo nimefurahia sana kwa sababu hata tupate chakula nyumbani. Leo nimefurahia hata mama pia nyumbani ndampelekea furahia.
Asante sana tatua tatu, na tutaanza kucheza na tutazidi sana pia kucheza.
Open University of Kenya, which was chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, aims to revolutionize higher education by breaking down barriers such as cost, previous exam grades, and geographical location through online open learning at the comfort of your home, job, etc., thus ensuring accessibility to education for all members of the society. In a nutshell, Open University of Kenya leverages technology to deliver education.
Open University has brought a new dawn in the Kenya education system, where learners are able to access education in a flexible, affordable, and all-inclusive.
Intakes ongoing for May and September. For more information, call us on 0202000211 or 0202000212 or email us at info@ouk.ac.ke. Open University of Kenya, an innovative university for inclusive prosperity. Come, let us show you place spot to build your dream home in Baraka Gardens, situated just 5.4 kilometers from Blue Post Junction along the Thika Gatura Road. Place finest with secure gated community, Majina Steamer Eco on-site, Usitans na stories za title deeds ziko ready. Plus, flexible payment plans and financing options. Pay 30% and clear the rest in installments. Get in touch, twende site visit. For more information, contact 0794 333 222 or 0722 668 700 or visit our website www.mahasibuhousing.co.ke. Experience the beauty of Baraka Gardens today.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
And we're going to do a special introduction like this. So this morning, we'll play for you 2 clips of one man. And we're going to start with the first clip of where he is defending the Finance Act 2023. While telling the members of the National House that this is the best thing that the country can wake up to. Then later on, we're going to play for you another clip of the man now warning Kerry, who they give the power then to collect these taxes, not to impose those high taxes without proper public participation. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you one, Nyoro. Let's take a look.
In terms of the expenditure, Honorable Speaker, we have to support the revenue side of the budget because, Honorable Speaker, that is where we draw the resources to be able to take our Kenya forward through infrastructure and any other kind of development that you are undertaking. Honorable Speaker, I support 100%.
Thank you, Ndindi Nyoro. The Honorable Masara. Give Honorable Masara the mic.
That's it. So he supports 100%. Yeah? And we had it. That's is in the National House, isn't it? And the Finance Act 2023 was heavily voted for by the Kenya Kwanza government or any other member of parliament who was allied to the Kenya Kwanza government. So later on in this broadcast, we're going to play for you another clip of the same man who's now warning Kerry from imposing these high taxes, especially on farmers, without proper public participation. So this morning we asked the question, is it a government of double speak? Joining us this morning is William Seno, who is the President, Solomonic Movement. William.
Yeah, Simba.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you so much.
Happy to have you around. Let's begin like this. That Nyoro will be the last man to take to the podium and advise the Kenya Revenue Authority against pushing heavy taxes to the people of Kenya, especially the farmers in the country, who he says they want to promote as a government. But right there, within the Finance Act of 2023, there's even the controversial avocado bill that essentially saw Kere get kicked out of a public education process on how majority of these farmers were actually going to pay these taxes through e-teams. Is it double speak from Naman Nyoro?
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Simba, let me thank God for me being here this morning. You know, it has been raining and it has actually been disastrous in this city of ours. So it's actually a privilege and actually a blessing to be able to be here without being swept away by the rains. But happily again, there was no rain today. So actually on Nyoro, one actually wonders, because Nyoro has actually learned the art of politics very early, because he's quite a youth. He's a friend of the youth. He's actually just left the youth bracket. He's 38 years old.
Yes.
And he's actually becoming a deceiver, like many other politicians that we've been having.
Yes.
And one wonders, why? What do they take us actually for, these politicians? Do they think that Kenyans are that of simpletons? You see, I wonder, and it's such a shame, because just some few months ago, they were accusing the former president and the former prime minister of making life difficult for Kenyans in the year 2024. Yeah, and that actually was supposed to be the narrative for the rest of the 5 years. But now, as you know, politics being as dramatic as they are, the former prime minister and the president are now in good terms. So it's actually not practical for the UDA politicals to attack Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. Actually, they are trying to send an olive leaf to the former president. Yeah. So because of this, there is a narrative that has to be created again, because the other narrative will not work and will not go well with their boss.
Yeah.
So in their school of politics, this is how I see it, that this is yet another way of deceiving Kenyans and of deceiving Wanjiku actually, because like one of the other former presidents, President Moi, once asked, what does Wanjiku know about the Constitution? And that's how the name Wanjiku was coined. But right now we are seeing another different name as has been coined by the current president. Is now calling Wanjiku Mama Mboga. But this new narrative is also meant to deceive Wanjiku. That it's not about Uhuru Kenyatta anymore. It's not about Raila Odinga anymore. It's another player, which is Kenya Revenue Authority.
Yes.
Kenya Revenue Authority is the one that is making life difficult for you. But then again, they are the ones who sent Kenya Revenue Authority to collect those taxes, and they forced Kenya Revenue Authority to place absurd tax targets, you see. So it's such a shame what they take us for.
Pretty much. I would like to begin from this perspective this morning as well, because the other question would be, did we get him out of context? And I will begin like this. It's not only him, as I know if you look at it. One man who was also apologizing for the way that the Finance Act is pushing majority of Kenyans in this country is one Rigathi Gachagua. He went to the Mount Kenya region, a place where he is pushing this narrative of being the kingpin, and he apologized that they must have gotten it wrong in the Finance Act when they came up with some of these taxes, like the produce tax that is going to see farmers taxed on based on their produce. Then says, we're going to go back and correct that. But you see, what Nyoro is saying here is, it raises two issues. High taxes, number one, without public participation. Rigathi Gachagua is here admitting that indeed there's just a lot that we missed here in terms of public participation. We're going to go back and correct it. Is it public participation that is missing, or generally these guys are getting it wrong? Because over the other side, Rigathi Gachagua is here apologizing for some of the clauses in the Finance Act, which is essentially taxes, and Nyoro is here saying, well, it's KRA that needs to do that proper public participation.
Well, we were actually expecting this because there was so much noise in the country. Kenyans were against this finance bill.
Yes.
And if my memory serves me right, there was a poll that was done by the media houses, and 90%, actually up to 90% of Kenyans were actually dissatisfied with that finance the way it was drafted.
Yes.
And the ground, actually, they had to actually listen to the ground at the end of the day. Because after passing of that bill to become an act, what the UDA government has been experiencing on the ground is actually hostility.
Yes.
Yeah, they have been, actually you see, it eats home very hard when people lose their sources of livelihood, be it business, be it employment for those people who are on a payroll. Yeah.
Yes.
So how does it go for a Kenyan who was earning 100,000 out of business, a net of Kenyan shillings 100,000, and now they are actually only getting a paltry of 20,000, which is actually like a blessing to them. Yeah. Yeah. So what sort of adjustments does that particular Kenyan make? Yeah. From where do they move to a smaller house or a cheaper house? Do they move their children from the schools they were studying into cheaper schools? And what about the monthly household shopping? How do they adjust into that? And what about other obligations? Yeah? Yes. Speaking of black tax, maybe somebody was perhaps building a home or a house for their mother back in the village. So all this comes to a stop, and it actually comes as a shocker to the Kenyan. But the UDA minions didn't seem to care about this. But now in Kiambu, they are being echoed. In Eldoret, they are being echoed. In Bomet, they are being echoed. Where else? In the strongholds, basically, they are being echoed. Yeah, the reception is hostile. So eventually, they had to come to the realization that they must have made a mistake. Yeah,
pretty much. I started the show this morning by reading the Tax Procedures Act, which is one that aims to provide uniform procedures for consistency and efficiency in the administration of tax laws, facilitate tax compliance by taxpayers, and promote the effective and efficient collection of tax. It also places strict timelines on the Commissioner to respond to taxpayer issues. I want us to look at this in this perspective. Nyoro has spoken up and pointed fingers at the Kenya Revenue Authority for pushing hard to collect taxes from Kenyans without getting into proper public participation. Is KRA late at responding to Nyoro and telling him that we are working under the confines of the TPA, which is the Tax Procedures Act, which is a law that is within the Constitution that affects a finance act and gives Kenya revenue authorities the powers to collect the taxes that have been passed into law by the same man, Nyoro. Are they late? Should they warn Nyoro?
Actually, it sounds like some comedy. Actually,
that's it.
Yeah, that's why we are actually laughing. What a turn of events! But what we are experiencing is Nyoro being disingenuous. Speaking of public participation, they conducted a shadow public participation, and there were noises all over. And I was actually wondering from the other Azimio fraternity. They were not quiet about it, and it made me actually believe that the other side of Azimio actually had the interest of Kenyans at heart, because from some of the strategies of war, you are not actually supposed to interfere with your rival when they are making a mistake, but they were up in arms trying to correct this government. So what we are experiencing is insensitivity and being disingenuous. And this is something that I can actually maybe relate to the French Revolution. When the princess once, the peasants complained that bread was very expensive, and the princess told them, replied by saying, if bread is expensive, let them eat cake. Knowing very well that cake was more expensive than bread. So this is maybe a mockery. Nyoro could be mocking us or just being disingenuous. And actually what we are expecting, because maybe a paltry of 20 years after the princess made that statement, we now saw the French Revolution in the 1700s and 1780s coming up in France. So we are actually expecting the youth to come up and say to these leaders, enough is enough. You cannot take us for fools anymore.
Pretty much. But is it playing politics? Because it was in charge. It was in charge in a place where they faced a lot of animosity on the ground, especially on these particular taxes. Case in point, the farmers' produce tax, which even the deputy president has apologized on. Number two, also the tax on avocado, which is essentially, we do know, majority of that produce comes from Mount Kenya region, which farmers have said no to categorically. Is it playing politics, knowing very well that I will stand on this podium, I'm going to play the politics of the day, that it is not our problem, that the problem might not be the taxes, but because whoever is collecting these taxes from you has failed to conduct proper public participation. Is that what it is? Is it pure politics?
Actually, you know, when these leaders are voted in, they are voted in as leaders and as representatives, and by extension as managers. But the truth of the matter is that they get through these leadership positions through a process. And this process is known as politics. So one wonders, after getting into leadership, should one continue being, after getting into leadership through a political process, should one continue playing politics, or should one, by that time, leave politics and employ his or her managerial skills and leadership skills? That's what actually, that's the question. So, because what we are experiencing right now from UDA is actually politics at the wrong time, when they should not be playing politics anymore. Because they did politics, they played politics in 2022, they won. So one wonders, and one should actually wonder, what's the rationale of going on with politics right now when you're actually not facing any, we're not facing any election anytime soon. So this is the time that I expect the likes of Nyoro and the likes of the CSs that we have there to employ leadership skills and their managerial skills, and just be do things right. Do things right. And speaking of avocado, I don't know, but there's this other member of parliament from Central Kenya, I've forgotten his name, who was a little bit honest and likened the Finance Act.
Is it Wamushomba, isn't it?
No, not Wamushomba.
Not Wamushomba.
The one who likened the Finance Act to
the Bible. That's right. I saw that quote.
And,
yes.
And a quick Google search on the number of words that are in the New King James Version told me that we have 780,000, thereabout. 780,000 words in the New King James Version. The number of words that we had in this litigation of the Finance Act is not a fraction of that. So even though she acted kind of funny and melodramatic, I give it to her that at least she was honest, that she had made an error. That
they had not read the Finance Act. They just passed it without essentially reading it. And she gave a reason. That, well, it's a vast document. We didn't read it. Is that the mistake that they're making? And I would like to ask you this question this morning, William, because then the people have looked at it differently. They've said that when in Mount Kenya, the statements that come from these politicians, including the president, the deputy president, they're quite different. It's either we are fighting this, or we want to implement this, or we got it wrong. Because the same statements have not come from Nyoro or the deputy president from anywhere else in the country. It is to the Mount Kenya people that when you are in the Mount Kenya region, William, because there's a place that you enjoy majority of support, you got to go in and play proper politics. That is annoying the local people, that we put you there to protect our interests, that we voted you to protect our interests. But then it's turning out that their interests were not taken care of by the leaders that they put in office. That's why the deputy president and Nyoro, the deputy president will come in and apologize and say we got it wrong. Nyoro will go right there and exonerate himself from part of the problems that this guy's, all the questions that the Mount Kenya people are asking them. That all that we're seeing right here is that Mount Kenya politics. That's it. Pure and classic. It's Mount Kenya politics. Because somebody said, even after the president, or the deputy president apologized that they got it wrong when it came to the farmers' produce tax, it's not pushed the national chair of House Business, Moses Tangula, to again come back so they can revise that particular bill and probably expunge it or reduce that tax. William, that when you're there, speak like that, because you got to be careful. There's your vote basket. But in reality, what you mean is, no, it's got to go on, because we do know exactly what we want to get from you.
Well, all thanks to the Mwai Kibaki administration.
Yes.
Since 2002, or was it 2003, we've been having free education, free primary education.
Yes.
And so looking at it, who are the initial at that time I was actually, I think I was in standard 6, or standard 7. So if a kid was in standard 1 in 2003, right now is probably 30 years old. So those are the voters who actually voted for, majorly voted for this government, right? So it comes to tell one, and one should realize that the Wanjiku of today is different from the Wanjiku of the former days.
Yes.
Yeah, because they are learned. And you can't just take them for fools. Now, one may actually also like to question, how is it that these members of parliament failed to notice such critical amendments in that act?
Yes.
So, and this begs the question: who was the drafter of this act anyway? Who was the drafter? Was it the devil? Because oftentimes we say the devil is in the details. So were they not able to read between the lines so that they could actually notice the devil in those details?
In the details,
what was the motive of the draft of this act actually?
Yes.
Yeah, one wonders.
Did they also fail to ask the question, in what way has this particular act represented the interests of our people? So once we go back, why are we going to tell them to support it? I mean, you can't say that the budget, that the document is quite long, William, and we do accept that within the pressure that you have from the president and the powers be to pass it, and we do know exactly how it was, that you got to pass it whether you like it or not. But did they fail to ask some of the questions that once we go back to our people, in what areas have their interests being protected, especially in the Mount Kenya region? I mean, that's the failure of a member of parliament, isn't it, William?
Well, you know, agriculture is the backbone of our economy.
Yes.
And having said that, let's also remember that Kenya is an ASAL area, arid and semi-arid. So we do not actually have the benefits that can be experienced in other parts like Uganda. So our food basket is already strained. So putting such punitive tax on production actually discourages what should actually be sustaining us,
yes,
which is farming. Now that's a shame. It's a very, 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 very big shame. But then again, this parliament, to now answer your question directly, you know, parliament is actually not supposed to be the government. We are not actually supposed to be speaking of the government is doing this, government passed this, the government, no. The government is actually the executive by the 2010 constitution. The legislature should actually be the official opposition because they actually represent the people. So they should actually be up in arms with the executive, checking the executive and actually fighting some of these absurd policies from the executive. But it's a shame that now they are turning against us. It's actually a rendition again of the outcome of the French Revolution. Then we had very good laws, but after some time implementation became a problem, and the same parliament that was for the persons turned against the people. Whenever they went to the streets, they were killed, and that's what we're experiencing right now. So it's such a shame, but I don't know. We are very far from having a Sankara moment in this country.
I'll be coming back to you now what it means for Nyoro when he stands in front of these people and actually speaks about this. But the reality, William, is it wasn't corrected. It was taken as
it was cheered.
Speech. It was cheered along, isn't it? That people cheered when he said this. What does that point to? The lack of proper understanding that the man standing right in front of you could be your problem, isn't it? Does it go right ahead to show that even the public itself is not well educated on the role that a legislator does in the National House on this particular bills?
Well, that reminder actually washes away my other point that the Wanjiku of today is more learned than the Wanjiku of the former days.
That's it.
Yeah, it washes it away completely because, and probably we should actually do a thorough check on the way these politicians actually select the people that now compose or constitute of their audience, because why on earth will they cheer Nyoro, knowing very well how they fought for this act to pass it by crook, by hook, or by crook, and they did that. So it's a shame. Actually, I don't think it's something that can be explained easily. We need to. It's actually needs some scientific
explanation
research,
on exactly why that particular point will be cheered, isn't it? But is it not okay then for us to turn around and blame the kind of leaders that we appoint to a national house? Because they should come out clearly, like maybe the deputy president, and say, hold on this one, we got it completely wrong, as opposed to standing on a podium, and this is a nationally televised event, and then say, well, it's Carrier that has got these problems. He didn't say no to the taxes. William, if you did listen to him, he didn't say no to the taxes. He said, my problem with Carrier is that they're pushing these levies and taxes without public participation. Can you give him a leeway? That indeed, maybe now, it's up to Carrier now to come in and educate these farmers and all the people of the central part of the country on why they are pushing this taxes to them. Because according to Nyoro, they went back to the ground, they did public participation according to the constitution, and they passed this document. So it's up to Carrier now to go in and educate the public on why they need to pay these taxes. Is that what it is?
Well, on leadership and the type of leaders we choose, actually, you know, I did not vote in Kikuyu, no, is it Kikuyu? No,
Kikuyu the central part of the country.
Kiaru, yeah?
Kiaru, yeah, Parliament.
Kiaru MP is Nyoro, yeah? I did not vote there, but apparently it's a shame because when Nyoro votes, is actually voting for me or against me. You see? So, yeah, he's actually from Kiaru and I'm from Alego Songa, but then again, his vote affects me directly. So there's actually, I don't know, they should, and one Sifuna, the Secretary General, actually his prophecy is coming to be true. Once upon a time he told us that this government is going to embarrass us, or probably it's going to embarrass itself because the things that these CSS and these MPs are going to say in the near future are going to actually fall back to get back to them. And here we are.
Yes.
We are at that stage. So the mode of, you know, there have been questions about democracy on the other side, yeah? Speaking of ODM, the mode by which the party selects its leaders, yeah? And there have been concerns that they do not give the tickets to the most popular candidates as such.
Yes.
Well, there's a way they do their selections. But look at it now, even in the National Assembly. How are the debates conducted? Yeah. We have this other faction that avoids debates completely. Completely.
They say they say that's a proper way of protesting.
And they direct the speaker to put the question.
That's it.
Yeah, to put the question. So, and there's actually this other faction looking at even going back to 2013.
Yes.
That's the same faction that produced the Waititus, the HSS for CS. Yeah. Then we also have with this other Rift Valley member of parliament.
Yes.
Sudi.
Oscar Sudi as well.
Oscar Sudi.
Oscar Sudi as well. Was also from the previous government as well.
The same faction that gave us Mike Sonko. Yeah. So actually, for me, there's the electorate, the voters should be protected. Because they do not know these people in person. They do not know Mike Sonko. They do not know Waititu in person.
Yes.
So, but the people who brush shoulders with the Waititus are their fellow leaders, of course, in the party leadership. So there should actually be a criteria across the board on the type of leaders they are going to present to the people, just to help, because actually we are expecting, there are institutions that have been put in place for that purpose.
Pretty much.
There's the ESCC to do their due diligence. There's also the electoral body, they're supposed to be conducting their due diligence to determine which leaders are we letting out to present to the people and which leaders are we throwing away. But apparently they have not been up to the task. So that's why we are having these issues.
Pretty much. Guess what, Sheila, hopefully the video then of Nderi Nyoro essentially speaking on this particular issue is ready. So you can just alert us when you are then ready to give it to us. And it's a good time then. Let's then take a look at this sentiments of one Nderi Nyoro when he was talking about this particular issue, so that we can come back and say, and look also at the responsibilities of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, as we ask ourselves the question, if he's the chair of this particular committee, should he be making those particular statements? Let's take a look.
Tulisema hapo awali tukitafuta kura. Our work as government led by His Excellency the President and the Deputy President and all of us. Sisi ni watu wa kushikilia wanabiashara. Wale wako Nyamakema, wale wako Nairobi, wale wako Kenya mzima. Now all the government agencies, our work is to incentivize the businesses and enterprise in Kenya. Na nauliza all the government, shirika zote za serikali kama KRA, na wauliza kwa heshima, as you do changes and especially increasing duty like the one we saw recently, it is important to do public participation. Unaita wasikadau pamoja, unawauliza Na nauliza haswa mkubwa wa domestic taxes in Kenya, tafadhali hiyo maneno ya kuongeza duty from 2.5 million to 3 million, tafadhali kwanza ukatisha hiyo maneno, ita wanabiashara mkae nao chini, kwa sababu wengi walileta bidhaa kama dola iko juu sana, wanaumia hapo, na wakiongezwa hiyo duty kwa njia ya juu sana, wataweza kuuza hizo bidhaa na hasara, ama they pass over that cost to the consumers. Na pia wale anti-counterfeit authority, many economies in the world, they grow through emulation. Emulation is borrowing technology and adopting it. Kwa hivyo kazi yao na wauliza kwa heshima, number one, they need to define to our business people what is counterfeit, so that wakisema maneno ya counterfeit, mwanabiashara already anajua counterfeit ni kusema nini. Na especially also number two, kazi yao ni kushikilia hawa wanabiashara wasaidiwe hata kwa maneno ya production. Na mimi nataka niwahakikishie wanabiashara wote Kenya, sisi tuko kuwashikilia, na ile ma containers zimeshikiliwa pale port. Nauliza kwa heshima, KRA wafanye namna ya haraka, waachilie hizo container, waite wasikadau, wakae chini, waongee, because we want to promote enterprise in Kenya. Na pia wale wako katika transport in Kenya, saa zingine nasoma maneno kwa magazeti, na saa zingine najua haitoki kwa serikali. Wale wako nabeba kama wanabeba na matatu, kazi yetu ni kuwalinda.
That's it. So the particular statements that got Kenyans talking. And this is the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And Sheila, if you can, because we do have Githaiga in the studio this morning, we were worried this morning. The rains were quite heavy on Sunday. We were sort of worried, did Githaiga get swept away?
I have my boat.
Does it?
Yeah, I remember when Sakaja said,
that's it. You bought yours, and then put it on the side.
Yeah, because we also believe in the vision of Sakaja. We have to follow behind it.
That's it. We were a bit worried.
No,
What was that?
I rode my boat nicely.
Does it?
Got here safely.
Does it?
But first of all, thank you for hosting me once.
Does it? Anytime,
I
man.
would like to pass my condolences
Does
to
it?
the people who lost their lives.
Pretty much.
The heavy down.
Yes. All right. Guess what? We're going to come back to Githaiga this morning. But again, Sheila, if you're ready with that graphic, then for the roles of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, you let us know from this side so that our audience can also get to participate in that one. But just again, because Githaiga is in the house, you like to take that clip all the way to when Nyoro is also speaking to KRA, so that we can pick it from that particular point when Githaiga essentially gets to settle in the studio this morning, so that we can actually get to start taking notes from that particular speech from the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Nyoro. That's it. And I don't know whether I can speak to Githaiga right now, Sheila, if you can confirm again. So we can throw him into the deep end this morning. So let me know as well. I mean, William, that's what it is. There's nobody who stood up and said, "Oh, hold on, no," but you can't speak to KRA now. You cannot, because you're part and parcel of the Finance Act of 2023. I mean, you're part and parcel of the problems we're going through, and that's why I asked you: is it the politics of the Mount Kenya region that once you are there, you have to speak as if you are fighting for them, but step out, what you really mean is something completely different?
Well, I'm actually not sure if in that platform there was actually a question and answer session.
Yes.
Probably one or two people could have raised objections. Yeah? But the majority of the people cheered on, and they actually agreed with the member, this honorable member of parliament. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I was saying earlier that we should, as leaders, or let me say, they should, as leaders, be very, very able to separate when to play politics and when to apply managerial skills. Because
didn't Nyoro as a politician really is even in that charge to play politics? Is playing the Kenya Kwanza politics at that particular point, exonerating his government from the problems that are facing majority of small traders in the country to Kenya Revenue Authority, that they're the ones who failed to come in and reduce these taxes and levies that they're extending to small traders in the country.
Yeah, politics, the Kenyan politics apparently, or maybe let's say the politics worldwide. We actually say also experience this in the United States of America. And wait until Trump starts his campaigns and we actually see that Kenya is not unique to this kind of rhetorics.
Yes.
Yeah. So politics as it is, this is like actually is akin to the roadside declarations that they make and the ones that they just throw left, right, and center. And people believe, actually they hope that people believe that. And there's a way that they put it. I think they must have gone to some sort of a school, yeah? Like how the pastors are actually trained to convince members to be generous at that time, yeah? Yeah, so one wonders what kind of magic they actually apply.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Kadaiga.
Yes, good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, I thank God.
Yes. Like I said this morning, I'm going to put you up to speed. Again, Sheila, please, if you're ready with that clip for Nyoro, essentially speaking to Kare, I would like Kadaiga now to listen. He walked in while playing that clip. He was trying to settle. Again, I would like for you to play it for him so that he can actually get a talking point, because the first question that we are going to ask Kadaiga this morning is essentially from that particular clip. Let's take a listen in again for the sake of one Kadaiga.
In terms of the expenditure, Honorable Speaker, we have to support the revenue side of the budget because, Honorable Speaker, that is where we draw the resources to be able to take our Kenya forward through infrastructure and any other kind of development that you are undertaking. Honorable Speaker, I support 100%.
Thank you, Nyoro. The Honorable...
Pretty much. That's the man. But then, again, Sheila, can you take us back to Nyoro in church again so that we can play a proper contrast of that man? I'll tell you exactly when to stop that particular clip for the sake of one Edward Githaiga. Again, let's take a look at that particular segment of Nyoro again in church then this Sunday.
Tulisema hapo awali tukitafuta kura. Our work as government led by His Excellency the President and the Deputy President and all of us. Sisi ni watu wa kushikilia wanabiashara. Wale wako Nyamakema, wale wako Nairobi, wale wako Kenya mzima. Now all the government agencies, our work is to incentivize the businesses and enterprise in Kenya. Na nauliza all the government shirika zote za serikali kama KRA, na wauliza kwa heshima, as you do changes and especially increasing duty like the one we saw recently, it is important to do public participation. Unaita wasikadau pamoja, unawauliza. Na nauliza haswa mkubwa wa domestic taxes in Kenya. Tafadhali hiyo maneno ya kuongeza duty from 2.5 million to 3 million. Tafadhali kwanza ukatisha hiyo maneno, ita wanabiashara, mukae nao chini, kwa sababu wengi walileta bidhaa kama dola iko juu sana, wanaumia hapo.
That's it. Mr. Githaiga, let me put it into proper context.
Sure.
That Kenya Revenue Authority acts under what the Constitution of Kenya calls the Tax Procedures Act, which is essentially confines KRA for consistency and efficiency in the administration of tax laws, facilitate tax compliance by taxpayers, and promote the effective and efficiency of tax collection. It also places strict timelines. Now that's where it begins on the commissioner to respond to a taxpayer issue. Now hold on. Now, whatever Nyoro is talking about is essentially the adjustments of levies and taxes, which we do know very well KRA does that, again, guided by the Finance Act in place. Now listen to this. Essentially, the commissioner, under the powers that may be granted by the Constitution, would actually go right ahead and revise excise duty on specific products and goods under the act in place. In fact, some of these acts, like if you look at the Finance Act 2023, it gives power to like the Finance Act of 2015, which essentially would also come into this particular act to give Kenya Revenue Authority the power to go in and adjust levies on this particular product. Now, Sheila, if you are ready then with that particular clip for the roles and responsibilities of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, our audience would also like to see that. Number one, investigate, inquire into and report all matters related to coordination, control and monitoring of the national budget. Discuss and review the estimates and make recommendations to the House. Examine the budget policy statement presented to the House. Examine bills related to the national budget, including the appropriations bill. And, now listen to that, Gedaiga. Evaluate tax estimates, economic and budgetary policies, and programs with direct budget outlays. So why would he go to church and say it's not our problem? It's the Kenya Revenue Authority's problem. When every other person in the country complained about the public participation process that went into the Finance Act, with majority of the pollsters who did their polls during that period saying that 90% of Kenyans were opposed to the Finance Act. Double speak, Gedaiga.
Yes. So now, thank you very much. Indeed, this matter of tax is a very sensitive matter because, you know, government has to raise revenue one way or another. Either we borrow or we take it to the taxes. And it's an obligation for Kenyans to pay taxes. And like rightly you said, the Tax Act or the KRA Act, which gives it the power to adjust the taxes, is there in the law. So, however, what I feel Didi Nyoro was saying was, you know, you have to look at also other variations that surround these taxes. Because like now, my brother, if you look at the dollar price, when you talk of someone who was importing goods, let's say back in December or January, when the dollar was at its highest, and then the dollar has gone down, you know, that person imported the goods when the taxes were high. So the prices of him, the cost of importing was very high even at that time. The cost of shipping and freight was very high at that time. And then now on top of it, you increase the excise duty for those goods without considering the other variations around and considering, for example, if you're buying, let's say, electronics from abroad, you bought them at a dollar was 165, right? It's already up by, maybe it was 130 before, like the price was. So, and the prices haven't really adjusted. You know, some of these things you can't shoot the prices like fuel. You see, like the way fuel went up. Some of these commodities that you import, if you try and shoot the price, nobody will buy them. So you have to balance. And that balancing act is also a very big challenge for business people because look, they have other costs like rent, right? Salaries, security, and many other things that they have to, and they have to also make a profit. So I believe what Didi Nyoro was trying to say is some of these things that are adjustable, like the excise duty, it is good also to consult, right? To consult widely with the business community so that they can give you their views on this excise duty. He's not saying it's a must because the commissioner of domestic tax has got the right as per the act to adjust. But that was a plea. That was a plea. You know, remember, he's talking in a church in where? Muranga? Exactly, his home turf. And you know in Nairobi, and this is not a hidden fact, we do know percentage of the business people in Yamakema, the business people who go downtown River Road, they come from Muranga. So this, and these are the bulk of also the majority of the voters that voted for His Excellency, the President. So I'm sure him being in the budget and being a leader, one of the top leaders in Parliament, the business community did approach him and tell him, how can you assist us? So this is a dialogue process. He did not force the domestic commissioner to reduce. He said, what you need to do, consider having a dialogue, a public participation. You see, like now, doctors are on strike, right? Because they want their CBA to be implemented. There has to be dialogue, isn't it? Right now, the president ordered that there has to be dialogue, and these things, the 9 points, have to be all sorted out, isn't it? So it is also the right of those business people of Moranga, of Nyamakema, those people who import the bulk of the goods to Kenya, to have a sitting with a domestic person so that they can break down to him, if you add even 10% on top of what we're already paying, we'll be out of business. And there's nobody here who is doing business for free. You cannot be importing things to Kenya just to make back your capital. You're supposed to make a profit so that you also are able to live your life and to sustain your life. So therefore, to me, I don't read that as double speak. I read that as a leader who is in touch with the ground, a leader who understands what those people are demanding. So what he was really basically trying to say is that, Domestic Tax Commissioner, please relook and probably engage these people. Because again, that tax duty is the one that Kenya is depending on, isn't it? So what if everybody stops importing? Will the government get the revenue that they're looking for? No. So there's no point of being very tough on them, and yet they're struggling. We all know the dollar was up. It's only come down, and it's coming down. But the people who bought those things at a higher price, they're getting affected business-wise. I myself, I remember very well. Back in the days, 2011, 12, 13, I was in that business before Uhuru Kenyatta came in. And when Uhuru came, he came with a blanket law and said that things are counterfeit. What he didn't understand, and which we tried, Nyamakema people in downtown were trying to find the president to tell him, was that when you go to China, there are different levels of manufacturing, okay? Like now, when you buy a BMW, you can't compare BMW with a Volkswagen. BMW is more expensive. It's more higher in terms of quality, right? You can't compare Volkswagen with a Toyota Vitz. They are both different levels, but they are vehicles that you can use. So even in China, you'll find a manufacturer who does a radio, which is expensive, medium, and low cost. That's in China. That doesn't mean the low cost is what? Is counterfeit. It's just low cost. It's just that they're not using the same quality parts and all that you have for Sony. And that's why Sony would be more expensive than the Sony Tech. You know, Sony Tech and New Sound, yes, and all that. But however, the president turned a blind eye. And what happened to our goods? Our goods were destroyed because we could no longer afford. First of all, when those goods were kept in the KRA place, in the customs place, they were being charged a storage fee. If you look at how much the storage fee you're being charged when that good has stayed there for over a year and a half, it was more than the load, the cargo that you brought. So many people decided, kama ni kuchomeka, wacha tuchomeke. So what did Nyoro, and if you heard him rightly as you cut that part, he was saying that also those goods, their goods have been seized in the port. So now they're not even being able to get their goods out, and while you've increased that just without consultation, the prices have gone high, the excise duty has gone high, so the Kenyans are suffering. And so, be it what it was talking about, the second part, is also been an issue in this country for a very long time, like what is counterfeit and what is not counterfeit. Exactly. We're not going to get into that this morning. On that particular point, you do understand that's a tussle that has gone on in the government for quite some time now, not just in this particular government. We are only talking about Dini Nyoro saying that Karen needs to get into public participation on a new Finance Act, which gives powers to the Finance Act 2015 for Kenya to continue adjusting these levies within this new tax dispensation. That is calling out Kenya for not doing public participation on a new act. When Kenyans have also called out this government for not doing proper participation. Githaiga indulges this morning that even the deputy president has gone to the Mount Kenya region and the people have told him, no, we're not going to pay. You and I have seen clips of Kenya Revenue Authority agents who are educating people how to pay these particular taxes, who are getting kicked out of public gatherings, that they've summoned people to educate them on exactly how to pay these taxes. That indeed, when they are in the Mount Kenya region, Githaiga, they play good.
they talk about how they are fighting for the rights of these people. Somebody said that even after the president apologized that they indeed got it wrong on this farmers' produce tax, that is not even summoned the National House to come in and relook on this particular one. Is not. That when they're in the Mount Kenya region, Nyoro included, they're pointing fingers. They're playing good politics. That was still fighting for you. But I've played for you the same clip of this man, Nyoro, saying, I fully support this finance bill. 100%.
Indeed.
Yes, but it's the one that gives power to the Finance Act of 2015 to continue, for KRA to continue adjusting these levies. So why couldn't they stop it?
I can't blame KRA because the powers have been given to them.
The
powers have been given to them to adjust the exercise duty.
Not only the powers, but the responsibility.
But the responsibility as well.
However, now what I remember there was this discussion that was there.
Yes.
We need to switch KRA from the authority to a service, like the way we did with the police force. You understand? We need to switch that so that the KRA can look for other ways, without being a politician telling you. If it's a service, it is more engaging, it is more open, it is more participatory rather than an authority. Because what we saw there was the authority. They were stamping the authority by adding that exercise duty. However,
but they got to. If they don't do that, they're breaking the law.
Indeed.
Under the Tax Procedures Act that says implement the Finance Act 2024.
But you see,
fully.
Implement.
Yes.
But the Act did not say adjust this to this.
Yes.
It is now the commissioner who has in his wisdom seen the need for that. And let me educate the Kenyans a bit.
Yes, and guided by law.
Yes.
The Finance Act 2024 also has clauses from the Finance Act of 2015 that says it's okay, whoever saw it right for the Kenya Revenue Authority to continue or to have the power to adjust taxes in this particular area, guided by issues like inflation, current economic conditions, has to continue. And so the members of parliament sat together, they looked at it, and then they said, yes, in these particular areas, by the way, and in this category of goods, Kenya Revenue Authority will see it right to implement it. The commissioner is guided by a document that this man, Nyoro, supported 100%. And you and I saw headlines again last week of Kenya Kwanza members of parliament saying, well, we passed this particular Finance Act without reading it. Kenya Kwanza members of parliament were saying that, well, that thing was quite long. It's akin to a Bible that has got, 780,000 words in it. Yeah. They said, you try blame members of parliament, you try. Even pastors themselves do not know what is included in the Bible.
Yes.
So is this a mistake that we're looking at, that indeed Nyoro is trying to find a creative way to get out of?
Mr. Simba, okay, let's remember this thing, yeah? There was this other narrative during the campaign periods of the dynasty versus the Aslas, yeah? That narrative. That narrative was not created by an average Kenyan. It was created by a learned man. So this is somebody who actually crafted this thing after reading so many books and after studying Kenya so much. That's how I'm saying this, that this KRA, blaming KRA is yet another carefully crafted narrative.
Yes.
Yeah, to stay away from the blame. And I don't know whether Mr. Githaiga is agreeing with them, has actually just bought the story, or is also
it's going to tell us where we come from this break.
Also part of the scheme, yeah, to try to confuse Kenyans that it's not us, but it's yet another entity. And that's why I was actually very careful in my observation that if it were not for the handshake between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, then they would have blamed Raila Odinga for that particular act. Trust me. But now they cannot do that, so they have to craft yet another narrative. And it seems like it's working because Mr. Githaiga is convinced.
Guess what? Guess what? We're going to go for a tiny breather. Once we come back, I've never seen Mr. Githaiga this quiet. What's going on? Githaiga, what's going on, man? What's going on?
I'm here.
Where's the power that you normally have every morning when you're defending government policies? Is it a government that is on a double speak stage? Vile wanasema, has it beaten each other? Because Nyoro is here, he's the head of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, he's the man who supported that Finance Act, and he says 100%. So the powers within that act of 2015 are not getting affected by the commissioner. And if he doesn't do that, guess who's going to blame him? The same member of parliament. Where is the revenue that we told you to collect? He's now collecting it. So why is Ndindi Nyoro again telling Kerry, go back and do public participation on a new act where majority of Kenyans are saying, no proper public participation, to the point that KRO officials are getting kicked out, to the point that the deputy president himself is apologizing. What's going on? There's a lot of discourse in this taxation talk. Once we come back, Githaiga is going to look into it. Is there a way out for him this morning? Or for the very first time on the Morning Drift, Githaiga is also going to say, Kenyans, I do apologize. They got it wrong. Also, once we come back, there's another man who's apologizing again. DP, Rigathi Gachagua, is telling Mama Ngina, Mama, I am sorry. It was just politics. So we were right all along once we come back right here on the Morning Drift.
University of Nairobi is a distinguished institution of higher learning dedicated to nurturing your intellectual curiosity and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. From state-of-the-art laboratories to modern libraries equipped with the latest resources, we provide you with the tools you need to succeed. Choose from a wide range of programs designed to prepare you for challenges of tomorrow's world. Whether in STEM, humanities, business, or the arts, our strong industry connections and career service support will help you translate your education into meaningful career opportunities upon graduation. Join a vibrant community of scholars from around the world, fostering cultural exchange, collaboration, and lifelong friendships. Book your space now for September intakes. Log in to https://www.uonbi.ac.ke for a wide range of courses to choose from. You can also contact +254 020 491 0000 or email us at pr@ounbi.ac.ke.
Did you know how Zinawi Real Estate have made families' dreams come true? We've already settled many families in Juja Gardens Phase 1 to 5. And now, introducing Juja Gardens Phase 6, right in the heart of Juja Farm, selling at an incredible 850k only. Secure your plot with just a 30% deposit per 8 of an acre, with all amenities ready and title deeds waiting for you. For more information, visit us at Gitwamba Plaza, 2nd floor, Ruiru Town, or call us at 0794 880000. Pata title uitwe bosi.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana RUTO Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo. Wakaaji wa hapa Kaptara, wakaaji wa hapa Salawa, wakaaji wa hapa Mujukuo, mpaka wakaaji wote ambao wanatoka hapa Baringo County.
Naambia RUTO Foundation asante kwa kazi nzuri wanayofanya. Mungu awabariki.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Buy Credo Chap Chap across all networks bila stress. Go to M-Pesa paybill number 33000 na uweke account number yako na namba ya simu that you want to recharge. It's quick, convenient and hassle-free. In just a few clicks, buy airtime. M-Pesa paybill 33000. Account, your number to stay topped up and connected anytime, anywhere. Chap Chap.
So how we gonna get out of this? And I asked this question, man, and we're gonna ask that particular question again to Githaiga this morning. There's a man who's quite silent. Remember when the president took over, the first places that he visited was KRA. And he said, I do not understand why our tax receipts are quite low compared with our peers, whose economies are way smaller than ours. So I challenge those commissioners, or the commissioner of the Kenya Revenue Authority, to improve his tax receipts. And so far, we've seen an improvement in the amount of money that the Kenya Revenue Authority has been collecting, to the point that now we are bullish about our 4 trillion shillings worth of budget in the 2024-2025 financial year. Is the president ever okay for Nyoro to point fingers at the Kenya Revenue Authority, an authority that he once empowered to help him collect these taxes? Just before we cross over to other issues this morning, Githaiga, yes, should Kenya Revenue Authority respond? And if they're going to respond to Nyoro, what would be a fitting response to the lawmaker?
I think, like I said before, Nyoro was speaking to his constituents. Mm-hmm. And like I said again, these constituents are the majority importers of these goods that have been increased excise duty. Mm-hmm. So Nyoro was basically trying to dialogue with KRA and tell them that in future, kindly consider discussing with having dialogue or public participation per sector. So if it's domestic tax, and they normally do it, I don't know why they didn't do it this time, or whether they did it, I'm not aware. Maybe they did it, maybe they didn't do it. But what you were saying is that the domestic commissioner should now look at how to have public participation, so that those people who are going to be affected by the law should have an input before the increase. So that even if there's going to be an increase, my brother, it doesn't have to shoot up to that level where it might run people out of business. You understand? Because this is what is happening. Already the dollar beat us down. Very few people in the last 1 year were able to import anything. I'll just be honest with you. If you go to Nyamakema, my brother just said here, people who are making 100,000 before. If you make 20,000 per month or per day, you're good to go, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it shows you that importing goods to Kenya became very expensive. Mm-hmm. And now, with that reality, KRA, which I believe should be KRS, you know, like the US, they have Inland Revenue Service. It should be more of a service, so that it's more friendlier, it's more inclusive, you know, so that it doesn't look. And remember, my brother off air, he was just saying about the hustler narrative. So even the people in KRA should understand now that this is a different government that should be more inclusive and take people's consideration first before they move into increasing some of these things. However, if you flip the thing on the other side, the same government now needs to look at, one, how it can enable manufacturing. I mean, we need to look at it this way. How much does it cost to manufacture a small radio that we're importing from China? Would we be able to produce those products here in Kenya so that we don't rely on importing? Mm-hmm. And this also goes again to the business people.
Yes.
I remember at that time, I was mobilizing Nyamakema people, telling them, let us come with a unison, let's make a company.
Yes.
Let's have one company. Let's have one company with different shareholders, because we're all buying the same goods. We're all buying these goods from one manufacturer in China. Why don't we come together, form one big company? And that's why you see corporates survive this volatile economic situation, because their shareholders have invested as shareholders and given management to run those companies. Secondly, why can't we think of manufacturing? Why do we still, and I'm talking to the Kenyans, those who are going to import these goods, change your business plan. Look at your business dynamics differently. Mm-hmm. We need to adjust. Yes. We cannot keep complaining of goods we imported and how high they are and how much tax we have to pay. Because, you know, on the other end, the government also has another policy, kind of removing the incentives so that we can have incentives for manufacturing. We need to think outside the box as business people. We need to look at manufacturing. And this is where the government can come in and give incentives for these business people to enter into manufacturing. Trust me, today, how many electrical engineers do you have coming from University of Nairobi, my brother? Thousands, hundreds of thousands who do not have jobs, but they have the skill to make a radio, or you understand, they have the knowledge of how they can manufacture electronic goods. So we need to relook at this whole environment. And indeed, I'm not trying to support Didi Nyoro in what he said, but you can see there is a quagmire where we are. People are stuck. And when we're talking about people's livelihoods and people's businesses that they depend on, we have to be very sensitive. And that's why I believe Didi Nyoro spoke that way, because he's in touch with the ground and he can see how sensitive it is. And he even mentioned the goods of these people have been stuck in the port because of the increase.
Yes.
So maybe if the public participation would have been, okay, let us release our goods, and then the next lot that we bring, then you can adjust the excise duty. Because when they imported and when they bought, the dollar was high, not compared to now.
Pretty much.
Yes.
But finally then, on this particular one, I'm going to come to you, William. On this particular one then, I mean, make it make sense for us, Gedaiga. I don't know what message you'd have for your constituents this morning who listen to you defend public policies. When a deputy president comes and says, we got it wrong. When Kenya Kwanza members of parliament come in and say, we never read the finance bill, we just passed it. When Kenya Kwanza members of parliament come in and say, the finance bill is as long as the Bible, we couldn't read it all. When Didi Nyoro goes in and conflicts himself on a public stage, is it the biggest form of recklessness from a government that can ever be? Mr. Gedaiga?
I don't think it's recklessness. You know, there's an old adage that goes, man is to error. Right?
To that level?
No, just hold on. It doesn't matter what level. Man is to error. But the man who does not say sorry or accept his wrong, that's a man who's going to destruction. And therefore, when you hear His Excellency the Deputy President saying we got it wrong here, or when you hear Didi Nyoro saying that is an admittance that man is to error. That's an old adage that the philosophers spoke about.
Yes,
so there's no perfect person.
What about those who say we never read it? We just passed it. What about those members of parliament who say we just passed it, we never read it?
You see, now on an individual level, voters, look who you vote for. Because I can tell you, your MP has a researcher in who is fully paid. The MP doesn't have to read it per se. He can have an executive summary of the entire act or whatever law they are passing. In fact, it's very scary that an MP, and I will not support those MPs who are saying that, an MP coming live on TV saying they never read it is a long. I've read the Bible twice, however long it has been. I've read it and I know chapters of it. I don't have to know everything, but I've read, and you have the underline. You understand what the Bible is saying. So there is no way voters, you can vote somebody and then the person comes and says and gives a reason that it was too long, we couldn't read it. Yet, if you look at the salaries or the people they have employed as MPs, they have a researcher. Why is the taxpayer paying the researcher if the researcher is not doing his job for the MP? So again, voters, competency. And I beg voters, come 2027, because you see, even another problem we're having in Parliament is the level of competency of these leaders. That's another thing. On both ends, not just government, sir, on even opposition. It's really a joke. I'm telling you the truth. Let's not fight like we're fighting opposition or we're fighting government. No. This cuts across.
But this was heavily supported by the government.
I agree, but it cuts across in terms of leadership in Parliament. Voters, the leaders you vote for, don't vote for them because of they're wearing orange or it's a suit for yellow. No, vote the individual, because that individual is the one who will represent you. Remember,
there's a collective
sovereignty.
There's a collective responsibility.
And the sovereignty of all Kenyans is handed over to the MCA, to the MCA,
and I'm listening to
the MP, and then to the president.
But the collective responsibility has to be handed to those members of parliament who passed it.
Yes.
Because they passed it together. We said it was numbers for and against.
Yes.
But the numbers for are the ones that we need to blame this morning.
The numbers for, and you remember what happened. The opposition walked out.
That's it.
So, responsibility also.
Yes.
You see, when you go to England, go to the British Parliament in the UK,
the House of
whether
Commons.
they have a minority or majority, they air their point to the end until the vote, until the bell is done. But walking out also shows you that there is an issue with our leaders.
But the UDA MPs have been avoiding that part, the debate part. So they've been screaming to the speaker. Bring the question, put the question.
Exactly. You know, this is politics on the floor of the house. You know, the floor of the house is a gallery.
So you should.
You know what a gallery is? A gallery is a play of plays.
Yes, but
is a place of plays.
You see the question that William is asking, that collective responsibility, like bring the question that instead of us debating the issues in this particular, but they just want to pass it collectively.
Yeah,
that it can be. It can.
However, I want to show you something.
Yes.
This is a financial act for 2023-2024.
2024, yes.
We MPs, we are watching you. 2024-2025,
yes,
we are watching you. Kenyans, watch your MP. Hold your MP accountable for the next financial act.
But you know what? I thought Githaiga was going to do a fantastic show this morning. He's just about to do it, but then runs away from it. At what point, William, are we going to call out? I thought Githaiga was going to come in and say, oh, I'm a disappointed Kenya Kwanza supporter.
Actually, that's what I was actually expecting. That's what I wanted to tell Ndindi Nyoro, actually, because Ndindi Nyoro should actually stop beating around the bush and hit the nail on its head. It seems like actually Ndindi Nyoro is growing the proverbial balls, actually. But Wamushomba actually grown those balls a very long time ago. So it's actually, there's no shame in facing the real problem, which is Dr. RUTO and Mr. Gachagua, and tell them the truth. This you are the ones who forced us into signing this thing. Probably they received some stipends actually in that effect. So there's no shame in, and Kenyans will actually remember. Kenyans will remember Wamushomba at the end of the day.
Yes.
Kenyans will remember Wamushomba, yeah? And Kenyans will remember Raila Odinga. Actually, I think Raila Odinga is actually a schemer, because at that time when we were having all these mandamanos, yeah, we were like wondering, Raila Odinga, what are you doing? Just let them do whatever they are doing, because one of the laws in 48 laws of power says do not interfere with your enemy when he is making a mistake. What's this you are doing? But now you see, Raila is nowhere in the mention. He's not being blamed for anything. So it was actually right. But my friend, Mr. Githaiga, is actually should know that those people that at Kamukunji and from Rang actually, in my view, are not business people.
Yes.
Those are self-employed people. And so often people call themselves business people, but they are actually just self-employed people.
Yes.
The business people that we have in this world are the guys in China, the guys in Korea, the guys in America who produce, actually manufacture things and sell them to us at exorbitant prices, actually, yeah? The people who buy coffee, Kenyan coffee, and sell them back as Nescafe and sachets, those are the business people that, and I want to believe that Mr. Githaiga, these people, these UDA minions, UDA politicals are actually just phone calls away from him.
Yes.
So, and this makes me wonder, because with this housing levy, they're supposed to be collecting 120 billion Kenyan shillings every year. So what if, because Mr. Githaiga is actually advocating for manufacturing instead of importation. So what if you picked your phone and texted them or even called them and told them, let's divert this 120 billion and put up an industry. Perhaps let's start producing toothpicks or forks,
yes, sir,
or even shoes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's have butter company right here in this country. Yeah, instead of building these houses, then eventually people will be employed,
yes,
and people will build their own houses. You know, you see, working in this Nairobi in any estate, there's no shortage of notices telling you vacant houses. So that begs the question: do we really have a housing shortage in this city or in this country, or do we have an income problem? Because there are people living in shanties in Kibera with you know the condition of those houses. But then on the other side we have unoccupied houses. Yeah. So why don't they just move to those houses? Because they don't have the money. So, but with manufacturing, they will actually build their own homes.
Guess what, gentlemen, with your permission,
just a second,
if you may. Yes.
1 minute.
Okay,
so I wanted to re-educate my good brother here on three things.
Be ready.
Micro, small, medium. Those are the enterprises.
Yeah.
So they might be self-employed, but they have a PIN, KRA PIN. They have a, you cannot operate without maybe a single business permit or what's it called, a business name. So they actually, what they have not done, like most of them have not got that business administration, education or knowledge to now run their businesses as a business, like you'd say, and that's why they're called micro. You graduate, there's micro, most of them are micro enterprises.
Yes.
So, and then they are graduates, and that's why I say to you, my brother, I myself, who was there over 10 years ago, I tried to mobilize them so that we can now start those medium or small business.
Yes.
Like you're saying. So we invest all our money in one pool so that we can have more control and more monopoly in the business, so that we can reduce competition amongst ourselves. And that's why you see like China Square. We just talked about it right now, off air. See why China Square is succeeding more than the Nyamakema. Yes. Is because that's an individual or maybe individuals in China who have seen a gap, and they have seen the gap is difference of the price. They're bringing the same goods that Kenyans are bringing in Nyamakema, but ours are maybe 20 shillings much more.
Yes.
Why? Because we are not bringing the goods together. Every individual is bringing his own container, forgetting about working together. The other thing I also want to educate my brother is what the Kenya government is doing. You cannot, Rome was not even built in a day, bro. And that's Rome, which is the entire empire that ruled the world for many years. The aggregation and value addition centers, right, which are being established all over the country. I think we have about 20 counties that are the pilot going on. Now, it is now us, me and him, who need to sit down and go to the Ministry of Trade and Industry and take those proposals. You see, you have a very brilliant proposal. Why don't we go to the trade ministry and look for Miano and have a sitting with her and tell her, look, why don't we look at all these products, especially electronic things that we can make here? Let us import some of the little things that we cannot produce because we don't have the raw material.
I don't think Kenya has a shortage of ideas.
That's what I mean. So rather than fighting, instead of you fighting and pointing fingers, be part of the solution. Because we need leaders like you. Government has no monopoly on ideas. Government is expecting my brother here, very smart and handsome and very wise, to come there, and I'm ready to walk with him that journey. We go together and see how far we go, so that then we can come and tell people on air what was the result. Is government ready to listen? And I can assure you, government is ready to listen to us.
Yeah. Gentlemen, with your permission, please, but because of the sake of time this morning, I'd like us to jump into another issue that has got Kenyans talking. Now, Sheila, if you can, we're gonna look at the front pages of our newspapers this morning, and we're going to start with the Standard this morning. Sheila, if you can, then put it on the screen for even our audience to watch what that it's talking about. Really, it's about Gachagua now being the real Gachagua, and I've been asking you what that is. He's gone back to apologize for some of the remarks that he had made during the campaign period. That's what it is. Gachagua walks back on Kenyatta's attacks, and this is what it is. And I'm going to read for you what he said. I'm sorry, Deputy President tells First Family for his incessant attacks on them and their enterprises as politics in Mount Kenya hots up. We're going to continue with that. There's a story here of on the Daily Nation as well, if you can, as well, Sheila, so we can actually get to look at what the Daily Nation called it this morning as well. It's essentially on Gachagua as well, apologizing. And if you can, also share it for us this morning so we can take a look at it as well. It's also talking about the same apology of DP to the former First Family as well, that we do apologize. If you can, put it there. Mama, please forgive us. That's exactly what the DP has said. Now, Gedaiga.
Yes.
That indeed, it wasn't true. That it wasn't true. That everything that was said about the First Family, about how they were funding the demos that we saw in the country, about how there were the problems of this particular government, about how we are the reason as to why we're here, about how Uhuru Kenyatta is the problem that is still befalling this country. That even when Uhuru Kenyatta came out to defend his family and said, well, I'm not the problem, let them fix it, because now they're under control, that it was true, because he said it, that all that we said was just because of politics. It was nothing personal. I am sorry. It was because of politics.
Yes.
So Gedaiga, that any other person who's ever said that Uhuru Kenyatta was the problem politically for this country, economically for this country, because DP Rigathi Gachagua is lifted the lead. He said that everything we said about this family and your son, it was just politics. I am so sorry. That's it.
Yeah, indeed. That's a real man. You know, having come from a place called Mount Kenya, these men of the mountain rarely apologize for anything. And to have the deputy president humble himself live on TV and apologize, that shows that our politics in Mount Kenya has really changed, and is changing for the better. Because if you look at Mama Ngina Kenyatta, she is supposed to be respected. She is the first lady of Kenya. And she is an elder. She's 90 plus, or 90 thereabouts. And indeed, politics sometimes is a lot of drama and show. And that's what Rigathi is admitting to. That in order to win hearts and minds of the people, my brother here seems to be more versed with the laws of, what do you call it? Laws of 48 laws of power. There's one law that says you destroy your enemy kabisa until they have no chance of coming back, until you win. So in an election period, it's about destroying your enemy until they cannot rise up again, and convincing the voter that that person is the one who is wrong. And I believe that politics was played on both sides. But for Rigathi Gachagua, I bow down to you, because one thing you have done, you have really shown the young people of this country that we need to respect our elders. And whenever you have done wrong, whenever you have wronged anyone, not just an elder, but anybody, it is good to go back to your mind and apologize, so that you can set the air free. Because you know, even elders can curse you. Elders can curse you, and your life can be destroyed. So I feel Gachagua also, right now where Mount Kenya is, we've had enigmatic Uhuru Kenyatta for the last 10 years, Mudhamaki. He was the figure of Mount Kenya, left, right, and center. But he's a retired president today. However, there seems to be a gap, and that gap is the one Rigathi Gachagua is filling in. If you read Pauline Njoroge's comment yesterday on Twitter,
yes, I did.
She actually thanked him and said, "You have done well." Even though at the end she was again
I wanted you to come back.
Yes. Even though at the end she was pointing out that, yes, look at what you did, look at all those mistakes.
Does that.
But the same mouth that insulted has now come and sought forgiveness.
Does that.
So even us, as people of Kenya Kwanza, we are going to follow that route, because we want a united Mount Kenya. We want a Mount Kenya that speaks with one voice, where nobody is left behind.
Does that.
So the apology, even on behalf of the youth of Kenya Kwanza, that spoke ill to you, Mama Ngina, or you, Uhuru Kenyatta, we also apologize.
That's it. Githaiga, I'll be coming to you on that, because that's where the questions now begin. William.
You know, with this author, this Nigerian author, Chinua Achebe, in his book, Things Fall Apart, he says that when you see a frog out during the day, know that something is after its life. So this begs the question whether this apology was actually sincere or strategic. And I'm very sure that Mama Ngina and even Uhuru Kenyatta are not simpletons as such. They must be asking themselves that question: is this thing strategic, or is it a sincere apology? And to me, I don't think it's a sincere apology. Even as Mr. Githaiga is trying actually to relay that apology, actually, and then, is acting like as a repeater to
no, he
assuming just in case the message hasn't got to Mama Ngina.
He has to get
let me push it further. So this is the question that we should actually be asking. And before I congratulate the deputy president for being a man enough and
thank you.
Well, but that's still in question, for having this Damascus moment, because he was once upon a time the number one persecutor of the Kenyatta families, So, anytime Raila Odinga makes amends with the sitting president, Mount Kenya panics. So, I don't think it was a sincere apology.
Is it a panic?
Yeah.
Is it a panic?
Yeah, it is a panic. There is.
That's where the questions begin.
Remember,
is this a panic?
No. Remember, in this show, I said that the politics in Kenya is now switching. I said it's changing from toxic, negative politics. You know, Raila Odinga, actually, that enigma, whether we like him or not, it doesn't matter. But right now, where Kenya's politics is going, we're calling it value delivery politics. There is no more scapegoating. It's about the value you bring on the table and the delivery of what you will deliver to Kenyans. Okay? And because that is the politics that His Excellency William Samoei Ruto has set for Kenya to play. Because, as my brother rightly said, we are very sure, even me, I'm very sure, Raila Odinga will win the AUC. Sawa. Once he wins the AUC, the politics in Kenya now changes. Trust me. That's how big Raila was. And therefore, people now have to play value politics. They have to play delivery politics. And for regarding Gachagua, and I'm happy my brother actually commended him for his Damascus moment, which is sincere to me. I looked at Gachagua speaking, and I know personally, I know he's been trying to reach out. He's been trying, but he has never gone public. It didn't just start today. He's been trying for quite some time.
For what reason, really?
No, because
for what specific
reason? Let me tell
reason?
you, this is what Gachagua said, if you had the interview.
Yes.
He said, we've been working together with this family for 17 years.
That's
it is only 2 years that we had a disagreement.
That's
and indeed, he's admitting. So those 2 years, and you know sometimes you're told your tongue can destroy. Right? Your tongue can destroy. So he's just, like my brother said, he's done the right thing to apologize so that negativity, that toxicity that was there, that had already entered the Mwananchi. You remember when the invasion of Uhuru Kenyatta's farm came, you could see people justifying.
Actually, it had gone beyond the tongue.
You get it had gone beyond the tongue.
It went beyond the tongue. Now
it went into action.
And that's what he's saying here, that even the destruction of properties, that even during that period, when just hold on, Githaiga, it's only going to be an apology, and that's where the questions were going to start from. You can only celebrate it, and that's what was warning you, do not celebrate. You can only celebrate it if the person that you're apologizing to comes out and says, yes, sir, I receive your apology.
Take it from me. Take it from me.
Yes.
One casa that you need to look at. You see, like someone like Pauline Njoroge. Let me tell you, even before Gachagua, I'm sure he's already talked to that family. directly, even before he went on air.
but
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
even before, because this is now a public apology. He must have made a private apology.
Or still trying to reach
No,
out.
no, he must. No, he's the deputy president.
The other side of the coin
that's
is
what I'm
also
saying.
true. Yes.
You know, Uhuru.
Yes.
He has been the president. He has his network. He has a family. It's a large family.
Yes.
And Gachagua has been his PA for over 17 years. You understand? Not 17, maybe 10, or maybe, yeah, because he was MP for 5 years.
Yes.
So you wouldn't have been, maybe 10. And therefore, he knows this family and they know each other very well. And I'm sure for him to come, that was now a public apology. But I'm sure he's made a private apology to that family. And even me, I'm reinstating that apology. Because even for some of us, we were caught in that hula baloo. We were caught in that blame game. And you know, blaming people for something that is happening today is not the right way to live your life. You live in a lot of resentment. But one thing I have seen, and maybe my brother mentioned it here, the exit of Raila has also opened the eyes of people.
That's what
it has opened the eyes of people, and people have
Yes.
come to the reality. Why
Yes.
are we actually insulting each other?
That's it.
Why are we actually fighting against each
Fine.
other?
And yes.
That is to be that commendation should go to His Excellency William Samoei Ruto
but
for
here's the thing.
changing that. Because you
Yes.
remember,
The other
even
side of
this
the
handshake that
Yes.
even the handshake my brother talked about,
Yes.
we haven't seen any handshake anywhere. It shows you the politics that Ruto is playing is value politics.
Guess what? William, here's what Githaiga is.
He just gave credit to Ruto,
And I told you,
not Raila.
give credit to the president on this particular issue. But here's what Githaiga is avoiding. That with the exit of one Raila Amolo Odinga, then the Mount Kenya region has nobody that they collectively want to beat. Is that what it is? That then you have to start realigning yourself if indeed you're going to get the favor of the Mount Kenya region. That this apology is a reach out. Is that what it is? Because Githaiga says, not Githaiga, but the DP said that this is just because of the elections. But then this particular fight, William, we saw it all the way even after the elections. In fact, you can track it up to just this year at the beginning.
Well, they say what an old man like Raila can see while squatting, a young man like Gachagua cannot see while standing on top of let's say Mount Kenya. And so I would say that they're actually, Rigathi Gachagua is actually trying to bring the other Mount Kenya leaders together so that they can stand on each other's shoulders and be able to see how far Raila Odinga is in. But I also want to agree with Mr. Githaiga because there must have been some behind-the-scenes discussions on this apology thing, on trying to make amends. And
is that an assumption?
And no, there must have been.
Is that a reach out?
No, because there must have been a precondition for that apology to be accepted.
William, and here's the thing.
Man.
Just hold on. Here's the thing. And I'm asking you this question because we do know exactly the politics of Mount Kenya, how they've gone. I mean, Rigathi Gachagua is under so much pressure on whether indeed is the kingpin on Mount Kenya. Nyoro has been in the conversation for a long time, currently as it is. Even the party primaries they're supposed to have right now. In fact, they've been getting pushed away because they're not so sure how that outcome is going to be. So this apology, is it a reach out?
Well, first, if you attacked me in public, I also expect you to apologize if you are sincere enough in public.
Yes.
So there must have been a precondition for that apology to be accepted by Mama Ngina and by extension Uhuru Kenyatta. So under the condition must have been you go public, eat the humble pie, let's laugh at you, then maybe we can we can see to it, yeah. So that's why the frog is coming out.
Who's angry between? And I ask this question because it also comes into the conversation.
Yes.
How is DP Rigathi Gachagua feeling with his new renowned support for one president, Dr. William Ruto, for Raila Amolo Odinga?
Well, let me ask you, was UDA a Mount Kenya party? And which other viable party do we have that we can say is a Mount Kenyan party? It's definitely Jubilee.
Yes.
So, and I wonder if Rigathi Gachagua has the acumen to actually form his own party, yeah, to the size that can actually be a threat to William Ruto's UDA. So Gachagua is actually playing some cards. He's actually seen where Raila might be going, because Raila might actually come back, and who knows? Raila might actually team up with William Ruto, and one of the reasons is because Gachagua has actually been a liability to this government with his utterances. Yeah, so he must be afraid. So Gachagua might actually be trying to get to Jubilee. I don't know, get back or get to Jubilee. Was he there some other time?
Yes, he was there. You remember Jubilee?
Yes. Bring all these Mount Kenya leaders together so they can form a... be ready for any eventuality that might come out of this handshake.
Yes. Why do you stop reading the other side of the coin in this situation? That with the exit of Raila Amolo Odinga, potential exit of Raila Amolo Odinga, then you've got no enemy. Because here's the thing, Musalia Mudavadi this week has cautioned all the leaders, both from ODM and Kenya Kwanza, you can't speak anything bad about Raila Amolo Odinga now. He says Raila Amolo Odinga now is a government project. So anything you say is going to affect his candidacy. And we, as the government, are supporting Raila Amolo Odinga. So I'm warning you, do not. Good. And we can't sit here and pretend that this support is not heavy from one President, Dr. William Ruto, because when we say the government is supporting, then the president is in it. And you can't support a man that you're not in speaking terms with. And guess who's been heavily against this particular marriage of Raila Amolo Odinga and President Dr. William Ruto? It is DP Rigathi Gachagua. In fact, I've got analysts who've sat here and said it must be hurting the most, because in this decision is locked out that if you track the last thing that DP Rigathi Gachagua said about Raila Amolo Odinga, it's just negativity, that you pull out negatives. And then you fail to say, well, that in this apology, there's also the reaching out aspect. Because, hey, this month that we came together supporting Raila Amolo Odinga, I'm left alone in this particular war. Because Mount Kenya region, I've always had somebody that they want to beat, and that has been Raila Amolo Odinga. So if that factor is not there, I've got to form an alliance.
If you look at, put DP here,
yes,
that's Gachagua and Ruto.
Yes,
you can't compare the both. Ruto is the longest serving member of parliament that we have today. I mean, he's the longest politician who has been there actively in politics. On the other hand, Rigathi Gachagua has served 5 years, 5 terms. I mean, one term only. So the clout that the DP Rigathi Gachagua has is not anywhere near what William Ruto had at that time. Because even William Ruto had established himself as a politician way back in Moi's era. While Rigathi Gachagua was an administrator, William Ruto, His Excellency, was a politician. So therefore, you can't compare the two. And the other thing is, even the president has come clear. And the president is somebody who doesn't beat by the bush. He's even talked about was it in Mombasa? Where he said we can even consider having a female deputy president in the next election. So I believe the politics and the leadership that William Samoei Ruto and all his experience, that he's one of the most experienced leaders today, the main thing that William Samoei Ruto wants in this country is unity. Because divisive, disuniting, negative, toxic politics has made Kenya not reach where it's supposed to reach. Trust me. Even in the 2007 election, it was all about negativity. For about 20 years now, our politics has been raised down by the fire of negativity. Negative ethnicity, negative this, negative that. The last time you heard somebody say, Luo huyu, ama Mkikuyu huyu, when was that? Never. So now we are moving towards the value. What value? Like now people are looking at Raila. This is the value Raila will take to the AU. This is the value that the president is giving to Kenyans. So the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, has to reposition himself and has to find the new identity for Rigathi Gachagua moving forward. And I like what my brother has said. To a certain extent, Rigathi was like the deputy president, William Ruto, in the first term of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, fiercely defending Uhuru Kenyatta through teeth and nail, right?
Yes.
So Rigathi Gachagua felt that that is the politics that he needs to play in the first year of his politics. And even him, he admitted, well, please don't compare me with Ruto because we're in different situations. But he tried to do that. And in the political scenario, William Samoei Ruto was under immense pressure from the opposition, isn't it? The first year of William Ruto, maandamano, 2023 maandamano was no joke, my friend. This was almost collapsing the economy. The nation was almost turning into a revolution. Because a lot of people were coming into the streets, things were being standstill until the police had to be so hard.
Including women.
Including women. And if you remember the statements of Rigathi Gachagua, mimi ndakaa mpaka kwa fence ya State House. Mtu hata ingia hapa. Every day we used to be shown Rigathi Gachagua coming in the office at 5 a.m. Because of what? Not because of development, because of the issue, the quagmire that we were facing with the opposition and the maandamano.
Yes.
So I want Kenyans also and my brother also to see Rigathi Gachagua was a defender of William Samoei Ruto. And my brother, you have to admit, if William Samoei Ruto did not have Rigathi Gachagua that year, 2023, probably would be speaking of a different political dispensation today. Rigathi Gachagua stood firm. While Ruto was the national leader, it is Rigathi Gachagua who put his head out there. It is him who was speaking that way, like my friend said, not for himself, but in defense of the president of Kenya. And that's what he always kept on saying. So therefore, I believe because that politics has changed, we've run away, we've moved away from that negative politics to now a more accommodative, more inclusive, more open, more friendlier politics. And that is why Rigathi Gachagua has decided to change his tack. Not just because of what my brother, he may have a point, but UDA, UDA is 50-50. In fact, if you saw the statistics of the numbers that William Samoei Ruto got, 47% did come from Mount Kenya. True or false? So that's like almost majority of the vote, right? So UDA, you cannot say it's UDA is a national party. But when it comes to elections, we always go back to our regional cocoon or parties.
Yes.
So I do feel also Gachagua might be eyeing the Jubilee Party so that he can have an instrument. Listen, bro, you cannot go on an empty hand. You have to come with your package and say, bargain with your package.
And I like the way you're coming back to the point that indeed there's something that they're eyeing in all these apologies that they're making.
No, the apology is sincere.
Might be.
Listen, the apology is sincere.
And we're not running away from the sincerity.
Because what I mean,
yes,
currently as it is, like
yes.
he said, my brother, this guy is wise.
Yes.
Like bring me more on the show. I like this
currently as it is. Yeah.
Let me come clear.
Yes.
My brother pointed this out, that indeed, what that politics of Matusi to Mamangina came with a condition. Because you insulted us in public, you also have to make it public. That was the condition. And like I said before, there is no way Mr. Rigathi Gachagua has gone to public and he had not gone privately. He must have. And that's where I'm saying the sincerity. Sometimes when reality dawns on you, or when you reach rock bottom,
you have no option.
You have no option. You're left with no option. So now that is where the deputy president is.
That's where it comes now.
And also remember, I also want to point out to him. I also want quickly in Mount Kenya how politics run.
Yes.
You see, Raila may be the leader of Western and that region, whether he's in government or whether he's in opposition. Raila has made his name. But in Mount Kenya, it's the leadership. If you get into government, you're either president or deputy president. So as a deputy president is the top leader, and the highest position in government in Mount Kenya, that is where he's inheriting the leadership mantle of Mount Kenya from Uhuru Kenyatta. And there is no way he's going to inherit that by forcibly taking the mantle. It has to be done with dialogue and consensus.
That's it. Well, you only apologize to somebody that you need. I mean, if I don't need you, I don't need to apologize to you.
Actually, that's why I'm saying that there's no sincerity actually in politics, but just whatever happens for strategic reasons. And all thanks to Mr. Githaiga for pointing out that I'm wise, but actually, but he missed a word. The word is Solomonic. I'm not wise. I'm Solomonic. That's why I'm the president of the Solomonic movement. But Gachagua, the DP Gachagua must be a very good student of history, and in that effect, it must have been. It must have. Followed Karl Marx, because Karl Marx once said that history repeats itself. And what we are having right now is just a rendition of the Jubilee, the Uhuru and RUTO presidency. So, and now Gachagua has actually read the science early enough, which is good for him, because Raila is in the picture. Now we are being told not to insult Raila. And the only thing that Gachagua was shining with was insulting Raila, or responding to Raila and making fun of him. Then again, so Raila is in the picture, no talking about Raila in a negative manner, and then William Ruto made an announcement that the next deputy president
might just
in UDA will be a woman. So the man is just, the man has been thrown under the bus. It's only a matter of time.
That's it. At what point are you going to pay tribute to that Rigathi Gachagua is under pressure? So he's a man who's making his inroads currently as it is, because he's read the future and said, I need to hang on to what I can in the Mount Kenya region. So the best I can do is to bite the dust and go apologize to the man who can give me some political power in that particular region, or the family that can give me political power in that particular region.
Bite the dust, but you see, like, Kenya is a democracy, and you know the rise of women has been established in this country. We have women like Anne Waiguru who are serving their second term as governors. You understand?
Yes.
So, and look at people like Gladys Wanga. Look at the women rising in this country. They deserve positions of leadership.
Yes.
And what the president was basically saying, you men out there don't think you have a monopoly over the deputy president's position. So now that is why the deputy president also has to now dig in deep, right? And find source within him to now be that person who fits that bill come 2020. Because let me not lie to you, you will see a transform regarding Gachagua in the next 3 years. The Gachagua you saw, you know, politicians have advisors, and his advisors will tell him, and people who set his personality, his character. It's begun.
It's begun.
If you had him yesterday,
his apology.
Yes, definitely. It's begun with this apology, because he's even woken up and the coffee is smelling to him.
Yes.
If he does not deliver,
that's it was a characteristics of him.
There was a headline.
To apologize.
Yes.
To apologize.
Look, there was a headline that says that this guy is being trapped with those promises he made.
Yes.
Number one, if he does not deliver coffee, tea, and those other promises he personally made to Mount Kenya, he'll be in serious problems. And some of these things he cannot do without the former leadership. Because you'll find the people who control these industries and these farms and whatever come from that side. So he's like an olive branch, so that even his plans and his promises he can be able to implement. Because remember, Uhuru Kenyatta still has a lot of support in Mount Kenya, especially in central Kenya. It's not a joke. He has numbers. And there is no way Gachagua will be able to make it through to even win the next deputy president's position automatically if he doesn't have 100% following on the ground. That's my point.
You see, there's a sometime in one of the presidential debates, Raila Odinga faced a question. He was faced with a question. I don't know what the problem was, and they responded that the reason why they were finding it difficult to implement some of the policies at that time, it was a prime minister,
yes.
and Kibaki was the president, yeah. And he said it was because of the big boys, and he was asked, do we have boys bigger than the president and the prime minister? And reluctantly he said, yeah, the private sector.
Yes.
So Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, with his lack of experience, yeah, in the political waters, actually underestimated a lot of things. He underestimated the power of the big boys, in quotes. So he came guns blazing, yeah, on coffee cartels, tea cartels. Then what happened a few months later? He said, watu wamenilemea bana. Mambo si venye nilikuwa nafikiria. Yeah, so that's it.
On that part itself,
things are difficult for him.
That I have to apologize to the big players in this game.
Definitely,
if I'm going to
have to play along. And that, just akin to the problem that South Africa's Nelson Mandela actually faced.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of hope that this man is going to bring back our land.
Yeah?
But what happened after that? Actually, he left them with no land.
So
because things really get different once we get in power.
So is it okay then for us to say, well, that the headline essentially should have been Rigathi Gachagua making his way for 2027? That could have been a better headline.
I think that
on this particular story.
That would have been calling it too early. Right?
But it is what it is.
No. What I'm saying first, you have to mend. He has to mend. This is a natural process of law. He has to mend.
How important is the former first family to his plans in 2027?
That is key, my brother. That is key. And that's why, even apart from the fact that the morality behind his apology was to his mother. You understand? The mother who is an elder and who is a statesperson, who is a first lady. That was perfect. For his own, his subconscious, his own psychology. That was very important to have that out. So that it comes out and nobody ever again will say Rigathi Gachagua did this because he's apologized. Whether they accept it or not, it's already out there.
Pretty much.
And if you have people like Pauline Njoroge, who is a Jubilee official, coming up and thanking him, and even my wise brother here, Solomonic, has also thanked him for that, it shows you that now Gachagua is moving towards the right trajectory of actually acquiring the mantle of Mount Kenya. He has a great chance. And I remember you mentioned Didi Nyoro. We would not compare in terms of experience, Gachagua and Didi Nyoro. Gachagua is way ahead of Didi Nyoro. Didi Nyoro maybe 2042 na uko. But for now, he would not manage, even financially, he would not be able to cope with someone like Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes, pretty much. All right, I'm even calling him Rigathi this morning. Wow.
Thank you. Rigathi, you are.
Here's the thing. I want to respond to the final question in this scenario, in this apology. Take Raila Amolo Odinga out of the question in 2027. That you have a Mount Kenya that is not so sure who they're running against. Handshake with the former first family, be in good terms with them. That you have a Mount Kenya that is up for the taking. How special is that? Or how bad is that for one man, President Dr. William Ruto, for 2027? Is William Ruto behaving like a man who knows that, well, the Mount Kenya region is not important in his chances for 2027? Is that why he's letting Rigathi Gachagua do this?
No. Believe me, even if an election was held today, Mount Kenya will still vote for William Samoei Ruto. Because William Samoei Ruto, he did his groundwork. He's worked with Mount Kenya leaders. And someone like Uhuru Kenyatta, even when Mwai Kibaki was coming in 2002, it is William Samoei Ruto who still supported Uhuru Kenyatta.
Does he think DP Rigathi Gachagua is important for him in 2027?
He's still important. Let me tell you,
don't count. Does he still think that? Because he goes on to declare that even in 2027, I've got no problem having a woman vice president.
The president can say that for terms of unity. Right now, Rigathi Gachagua is the deputy president. There's nothing that William Samoei Ruto can do to remove Rigathi Gachagua. He is the deputy president for the next 3 years to go.
Why can he come in and say, hey, this journey, we are taking it together with DP Rigathi
Because you
Gachagua
know
in
why? He
2027.
doesn't want to make a mistake like Uhuru Kenyatta. Si ndio ndugu yangu?
Doesn't.
You remember what Uhuru Kenyatta did? Look, you have William Samoei Ruto, and I always say on this show, he's a very sharp, intelligent politician. Uhuru Kenyatta declared William Samoei Ruto as kumi yako, kumi yangu. And you see, after when Uhuru Kenyatta said, no, we cannot give William Samoei Ruto, was he able to convince Mount Kenya? Kumi si ya Ruto? He was not. So that politics of promising the world to someone, William Samoei Ruto has killed it.
Guess who's promising him? DP Rigathi Gachagua is promising him that the only thing that I'm doing is to lay the ground for the success of one President William Ruto.
Exactly, and that is what a loyal soldier does. And I thank Rigathi for saying that, because he's not playing politics. He's saying, for now my mandate is with William Samoei Ruto moving forward. And therefore his delivery, even Rigathi Gachagua's delivery, you remember they are co-joined, deputy and president. They have to deliver onto the promises.
Well, does he move like a man who gives importance to DP Rigathi Gachagua?
Well, if I may ask you, who is the kingpin of Mount Kenya right now? It's William Ruto. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you
agree?
I mean, like I said before, you remember what they, you remember, listen, he is the kingpin in the fact that 47% of the voters, of the votes he got was from Mount Kenya.
But William, but hold on, is that going to be a correct answer? Because DP Rigathi Gachagua also says, I'm the kingpin.
Yeah, they're saying, okay, the same way we'll say, who's the king, one will ask who's the kingpin of the Luhya community. It's Raila Odinga, yeah? So it's very possible for one to be a kingpin of a community which is not theirs.
What if you change that question? What if you change that question and took it to Nyanza and ask them who's the kingpin of the Luhya community? They will tell you Raila Odinga. Without a question, isn't it? Without a question. Without a question. But Rigathi Gachagua, because
he's earned it. Rigathi Gachagua has not earned it.
But he's saying it that I'm the kingpin of this region. He's actually told the rest of them to shut up. The likes of Nyoro have been going for it.
And
he's telling them, shut up, I'm the kingpin. So if indeed you're saying that that the president is a kingpin, then is Rigathi Gachagua moving, knowing very well that in 2027 he's going to stick in this thing, it might go?
Actually, what you are trying to say is that Rigathi Gachagua, by being the deputy president, and being the senior most politician right now in Mount Kenya, that makes him the kingpin of the Kikuyu community. But Mudavadi is not the kingpin of, or even Wetangula is not the kingpin of the Luhya community. So this is the case. William Ruto was going to get the number of votes that he got with or without Gachagua, because he was the kingpin. So whoever from Mount Kenya William Ruto was to choose as the deputy as the running mate was still going to deliver those votes.
Where do you put the president, former president, that President Uhuru Kenyatta? Where do you put him in this morning? Because Rigathi Gachagua is making amends with him. So in this conversation, when you're talking about the kingpinship politics in the Mount Kenya region, now that Rigathi Gachagua and President Uhuru Kenyatta are in good terms, or are going to be in good terms, according to you guys. It's a sincere apology, and you're reading these as a terms before we shake your hand. What do you put him in terms of?
Well, there's a reggae song that goes like this: that a nation that stands divided shall fall united in the field. So to clinch this kingship thing from William Ruto, Mount Kenya leaders have to unite. Yeah, so that's why Gachagua is extending an olive leaf to the former president.
If you go back to the 2013 elections, where they got 97% of the vote in the Mount Kenya region, would you call Uhuru Kenyatta campaign of the Mount Kenya region?
If
you go back to the 2013 elections, where they scored 97% of the vote.
Of course, at that time, Uhuru Kenyatta was the kingpin. But you know, there's something that Uhuru Kenyatta did along the way that made the Kikuyu people despise him.
That's it. And I like where you're getting to. Well, shook hands with Raila Odinga, and they weren't happy with it. Now that
Not necessarily.
Now that RUTO is shaking hands with Raila Amolo Odinga, is that going to make him lose?
Can I come
no,
in?
15 seconds, please.
Not
15
necessarily
seconds. Yes.
the handshake is what that brought this. Because even if you look, Raila Odinga got over 800,000, almost to 1 million votes in Mount Kenya. He always used to get 200, right? That was an increase.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily because of the handshake. I believe some of the policies that he came up with were hurting the business people and majority of people in Mount Kenya. That would have been the reason. But ask me that question, and I said it here again. Regional politics are dynamic and they are specific to the region.
Yes.
Like in Western, he rightly said, Raila Odinga in Luyaland is the kingpin. Right? Right now in Mount Kenya, it's different.
Yes.
We look at who is in the highest position in government, and that becomes our automatic leader. However, there's something called Muthegi. Muthegi is the staff of leadership. That has not been handed over. To who? To Rigathi Gachagua. You understand?
Yes.
So that is why, and the person to hand over that Muthegi, if you remember Michuki saying, Muthegi tunapatia nani? Uhuru Kenyatta. Na Uhuru Kenyatta ndio ataeza. That was an elder Michuki.
Yes.
So that is why the elder Uhuru Kenyatta needs to pass on the Muthegi.
Yes.
For the community's unity and to have a Mount Kenya kingpin, like my brother said here, or a leader who stands for Mount Kenya.
Yes.
That is why Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua have to speak in one voice. For the community's sake, come 2027.
But one voice or two voices, so to me, Rigathi Gachagua has lost it. He cannot be the kingpin of Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
They will have to find a replacement, or better still, stay without a kingpin for
I do not want to sum it up like that because we still have time for Rigathi Gachagua to play his cards right. And Bwana Deputy President, we are begging you, tafadhali, look for young people like us, tukusaidie kwa ground, so that we can bring that true image of Rigathi Gachagua, that national leader whom you are, that patriotic who you are. Thank you very much.
Pretty much. We step out like this. Taifa leo puts in proper perspective where Gachagua asema nikidhaa cha chura kilinifanya wamkosee heshima mama ngina nisamehe. And they have a beautiful picture there of Rigathi Gachagua's hands raised up to Mount Kenya saying, I'm so sorry. Guess what? This will take development. And we're going to keep on talking about it all the way up to when we can make proper sense of it. Gadaiga. And well, thank you very much for coming by, man.
Thank you.
Today, Gadaiga has been quite chilled. I don't know what happened this morning. Yeah? Yes, well, take them online and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag, as always, is The Morning Drift. I am Akiange Simba. I'll see you tomorrow for another session. Good morning and goodbye.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to info@lookuptv.co.ke.